Aerodrome Finance crucial price update and new base projects with massive upside potential. My name is mikemadz. Let's start this video. Before starting the video, as always and now more than ever, show me that you're still around. Every like matters, every comment matters. The more people engage, the better for the video, the better for our projects, the better for everyone. Also, if you want to be a successful trader here, check out my links in the description with Target Research. We help you become a successful trader within 14 days. Appreciate you. Let's start. All right, let's stop wasting time. Let's jump straight into it, especially you guys. Yes, we had a massive recovery. Super important as the markets were basically in a downfall. Now, the most important question is, was this a dead cat bounce? Is this simply a lower high? Or is this something sustainable here leading us into this alt season? Probably in the later half of the year. Super important to focus at this current stage here of the cycle in order to reap the most benefits for the cycle action. Okay, taking a look at, of course, Aerodrome, we had a massive pump, and now the question is, how high can we go and what to expect here in the short and the midterm. AMPed, I covered AMPed actually in my prior videos, but now they finally launched, and I want to show you here what is actually possible in the next couple of weeks and months. AERO price prediction, and because many people asked here, my ultimate bull case for Aerodrome, a price prediction I haven't here discussed on my channel too often, a possibility which is not very likely, but is possible, okay? Now, and also, of course, now what? Some people ask me, now what, Mike? What should I do? Should I take profit? Should I add more here? And one super important thing is, watch out for this, as this trap here usually happens in May, which can get you absolutely wrecked, and you can avoid that, of course. Okay, now taking a look at the Aerodrome, let's take a look at the fundamentals first before we get to the price here. Super important also for the future of Aerodrome is how, of course, the DEX is developing. And as you can see here, the DEX is getting better, it's getting faster, the UX is getting cleaner, and overall the updates are actually driving into the right direction. As always, super simple thesis here. Of course, if a project is not implementing changes here, and especially listening to the community here, then it doesn't really make sense to be bullish in the long term here, as it's simply a token you invest in and hope for upside. Doesn't make any sense. But with Aerodrome, of course, this is not the case. Aerodrome still, to this day here, despite the price action, the liquidity hub of base, and it's getting faster, cheaper and better than ever before here. So price-wise, we're not at all-time high, but fundamentally, we're definitely way better off here than we were in last year. And also with the buybacks here and with the token locks, things are looking actually more promising right now than they looked last year. Okay, taking a look at the price action. As you can see here, like I said in my last video, I didn't expect here this pump to go back to all-time highs within a couple of weeks. This is still my expectation, unfortunately. Now, in the short term, this was a massive pump. So congratulations if you traded this pump here. But the truth is, unfortunately, most people bought every single dip here on the way down. This is the truth. Unfortunately, this is just simply it. Of course, some traders were sidelined and actually used this trade here to make massive profit, but most traders are still underwater, and I know by experience here as I chat with a lot of AERO holders here. But either way here, guys, this pump here is legit, of course, 160%, and it is a good beginning here not to see lower prices here. Why? Because we reclaimed super important levels, first of all, and second of all, actually this was a very tricky spot, as this would have opened up here a spot to drop another 80% from here. This is why I was super cautious. Still am cautious, by the way. I don't expect this to pump to new all-time highs within weeks, okay guys? But it's a good start, and we have to see here, is this simply a lower high, or can this be a sustained rally here, chopping to the upside here within the next months, leading us into alt season, where finally the monetary policy actually aligns with altcoins, where altcoins also can finally catch real bit here to gain really nice amounts of gains. Okay, so this is Aerodrome price action in the short term, looking good, nice game from the upside, reclaimed important levels, but now we have to see, and we have to be on our toes here. Is this a lower high, or can we sustain this to the upside? Okay, taking a look at AMPed. Of course, covered it in my prior videos here. AMPed, an IP play, okay? Its competitor basically, or its contrary on another chain here, is Story Protocol IP, which is a multi-billion dollar project, okay, as I told you. And as you can see here, we had finally launched here this project, or the project finally launched We had a nice launch, almost reaching $1 million in market cap. Successful launch in my personal opinion. And of course, we corrected after that. Usually with launches, they peak, then could correct. Of course, people take profits, and then they establish a bottom before having the real leg up. So if you bought at higher prices, I wouldn't worry. I personally have a position here, and this is one of my few positions that I have in my crypto portfolio, and I'm planning not to sell this position as it's a micro cap. Okay, and I expect much more upside here for AMP as the project is building here on the go. Don't see this as a pump and dump. Don't see it as a quick fix here to make a lot of money. This is a long-term thing. The team is building like crazy. The team has the right connections, and more importantly, this project just simply makes a lot of sense here and covers a narrative here that is not too crowded in the space, especially on base. So very good positioning, in my personal opinion, a good launch. And of course, take a look at the chart here. Yes, no question about it. If you take a look at this chart, you expect here, your first thoughts will be, then what's this, a pump and dump? Guys, this is normal for new launches here. And I want to show you actually an example of that. If you would have seen this chart right here, what is your first thought? Of course, your first thought will be, I'm never ever gonna touch this chart in my life. I'm not buying this dip. This looks done. This project looks done. Now I want to show you what actually happened here right after this bottom. Right after this bottom, this project is actually Nosana. It's an AI play on Solana. Right after this bottom, this project had an over 70,000% move to the upside. Just to open your horizon, guys, some people forgot what crypto is actually capable of doing here return-wise. Of course, I'm not saying that AMP is going to repeat that, but if you see this chart and if you're having doubts here, I wouldn't. Okay, so this is still early. This is still the beginning. It's a solid launch. It's holding this bottom here. Even if it drops lower, I'm not worried. This is a micro cap, and even a small listing and even a little bit of liquidity can pump this thing up to multiple $1 million in market cap. Okay, again, showing you the project here. They're building like crazy. It's a founder-led project, which I like. The founders themselves are pushing this project daily, basically on X. And as you can see here, one of the most important, exciting things here, for me personally, staking is coming. Always a huge fan to stake your tokens, accumulate more while it's a micro cap and while actually it has a lot of upside potential in the future. Right, getting back to Aerodrome and my price prediction and my ultra bull case here, the best case scenario for the AERO token. Take a look at the chart again. Of course, it is hard to imagine something this volatile, and especially something with this large of a FTV here or market cap to see new all-time highs again. Why? Because I showed you here in my last video, the tokens in circulation are more right now than they were at the last peak here. So it's hard to reach back to new all-time highs, as you simply need more liquidity to reach the same price. But either way, my base case is still here. Let's reach let's go back to all-time highs. Okay, once we get back to all-time highs, especially once QE is back on the horizon, whenever that is. I know people call for QE every single week and month. Whenever that is, and whenever we actually get real alt season, okay, most people are also screaming for alt season every single week. Well, Bitcoin dominance is going parabolic here. Once we get alt season, which usually happens every single cycle, guys, and usually happens when most people give up. Not everybody can win. Unfortunately, this is simply it. So I'm still expecting alt season, but I don't expect it to happen here in the next couple of weeks. My personal base case is still unchanged, which can be still a volatile road to this scenario here. We still can dip from here. This is not out of the question, but my base case is we are going to reach new all-time highs for Aerodrome. Now, my ultra bull case here, if we get QE back on the table here, okay? If the liquidity and if the macro allows for it, and especially if Bitcoin dominance finally drops in a sustainable manner here, if liquidity of Bitcoin here drops into altcoins, then I expect Aerodrome to absolutely explode and to have a parabolic phase and actually a blow off top. Why? Because base is thriving, and as of today here, base doesn't have a token, so investors will seek exposure to the base ecosystem, and Aerodrome is simply the best risk to reward play here on base, allowing it here to suck up most of the liquidity here in the base ecosystem play. So in my personal opinion, if we get those parameters in check, if we have QE, if we actually have an alt season, if Bitcoin dominance finally tops out here, I expect Aerodrome to reach somewhere around $5 plus. It is possible. I know people don't like to think about that, but right now in the short term, this is long This is a long way off. Okay, so just to be completely honest here, this is now a talk about something that is potential but not probable at this current stage. Right now, as always, I like to be defensive. Let's get back to all-time highs first, and more importantly, actually, all of that here, let's see if this is simply not just a dead cat bounce leading us actually to new lows here. Okay, pretty simple. Now what? And watch out for this. A scenario I want to put on a radar, because many people here right now are absolutely bulled up, while actually the majors are still at very low levels, while Bitcoin is over 90K. Now you can imagine what happens if Bitcoin corrects again. Altcoins will get absolutely destroyed, so you have to manage your risk. I know many people are bullish right now. It makes sense to be bullish. We had a nice recovery also in TradFi, but you have to have something on your radar, and you need to be prepared here for the scenario. And taking a look at that, this is the scenario right here, 2019. Why am I taking 2019 here? First of all, shout out to Ben Cohen. This is not my idea, but he put it on my radar, and I think it makes sense here. 2019, liquidity-wise and rate cut-wise, it was very similar, and also recessionary talk-wise, it was also similar, as we had a recession here later this year in 2019, of course induced by the pandemic. As you can see here, very similar market structure. Pump, many people thought this is going to much higher prices. Then we had reality kick in, of course a massive dump here, altcoins bleeding like crazy, and of course then we had this recovery rally here, and we're now back above the bull market support band. Right now, the consensus is we are reaching new all-time highs this in the next couple of weeks. This is basically the consensus here, most people I talk to. But as you can see here, very similar spot here in 2019. Massive pump, many people were calling for much higher prices then. Massive dump, of course also then a relief rally. And as you can imagine here, the sentiment back then here in 2019 was basically the same it is right now here. Most people were expecting continuation. Most people were piling in, buying more, leveraging up. And as you can see here, it was just simply a lower high here, which turned into a wick and turned into a lower low here for Bitcoin here. And of course, altcoins got absolutely wrecked. So you have to have this on your radar. Super important. If we get this lower low, this is the area where to go in heavy, in my personal opinion. And this is actually, from the risk to reward standpoint, one of the best entries ever this cycle, if we get it. I'm not saying it's gonna repeat here. Most things don't repeat one by one. Okay, guys, just to have it to have it clear here. But if it repeats, this would represent a massive opportunity. And at minimum here, guys, this should be on your radar here in order to manage your risk accordingly. Okay. Nothing more, nothing less. Also here, covering an extra base project because I didn't cover it in a long time. I want to cover Alien Base here. Why? Because the Alien Base community is absolutely amazing here. The DEX is still fine. B3 is actually thriving here. And I think crypto gaming has a bright future. And of course, being the liquidity hub of gaming on Base, I think Alien Base is actually still undervalued here. And as you can see here, it also started moving here from the bottom, over 100% move to the upside. Still $30 million market cap. This thing can go into the billions here, guys. Again, if we get alt season, if we get this mania phase, and if cycles repeat here, then the alt season most probably is still opportunity here. Something you should at minimum actually prepare for. Okay? At the end of the day, guys, be bullish on yourself. Super important. Do your own research. Actually, this is actually more important. And the most important thing is, as always, don't get wrecked.
Like Mars Simpson, just hard discipline, pot simmering, cooking up, no rocks in the pan, watching the plan form in the sand, bidding.